Imagine a world where the most dreaded part of a doctor's visit, the needle, the vials of blood, became obsolete. A world where a single, painless prick of your finger could provide all the data needed for hundreds of sophisticated health tests, cheaply, quickly, and right in your local pharmacy. This was the breathtaking promise of Theranos, a promise that captivated investors, seduced the media, and offered a charismatic young woman named Elizabeth Holmes the kind of adoration usually reserved for tech titans. She was hailed as the next Steve Jobs, a visionary set to revolutionize healthcare. But behind the glittering facade of innovation and billion-dollar valuations lay a chilling truth: it was all a lie, built on a foundation of deception, incompetence, and unfulfilled promises. This is the story of Theranos, the billion-dollar blood testing fraud. The story begins with Elizabeth Holmes herself, a Stanford dropout driven by an intense ambition. In 2003, at just 19 years old, she founded what would become Theranos. Her initial idea, a drug delivery patch, quickly morphed into a far more audacious goal: to democratize blood testing. She envisioned a device that could perform a full range of lab tests using only a tiny drop of blood, making healthcare more accessible and affordable for everyone. It was a compelling narrative, particularly in Silicon Valley, where disruptive innovation was the holy grail. Holmes, with her deep voice, black turtlenecks, and unwavering conviction, became the perfect embodiment of this vision. She was incredibly persuasive, attracting an astonishing array of powerful and influential investors and board members. Luminaries like George Shultz, Henry Kissinger, and even Rupert Murdoch bought into her dream, pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into the company. Theranos was valued at an astounding $9 billion at its peak, all without ever publishing peer-reviewed scientific data on its technology. This secrecy was a hallmark of Theranos, shrouded in non-disclosure agreements and an almost cult-like atmosphere of loyalty. Holmes often argued that the proprietary nature of their technology necessitated such tight control. She appeared on the covers of Forbes and Fortune, gracing stages and conferences, always delivering the same message of hope and technological breakthroughs. The company secured a groundbreaking partnership with Walgreens, rolling out wellness centers where patients could supposedly get their blood tested using Theranos' revolutionary Edison machines. The idea was simple: walk into a pharmacy, get a quick finger prick, and receive comprehensive health insights within hours. It was a potent fantasy, one that seemed to perfectly align with the growing desire for personalized and preventative medicine. The company was poised to change the world. The only problem? Their technology didn't work. The cracks in the facade began to appear long before the public became aware. Inside Theranos, employees wrestled with machines that consistently failed to produce accurate results. Engineers and scientists, many with legitimate concerns, were often silenced, intimidated, or fired. The pressure to deliver on Holmes's grand promises was immense, but the science simply wasn't there. Rather than admit failure, Theranos resorted to desperate measures. Instead of running all tests on their proprietary Edison devices, they secretly began using modified commercial blood testing machines from other manufacturers, which required traditional venous draws, not the tiny finger prick samples they advertised. And even then, the results were often unreliable, sometimes wildly inaccurate, putting patients' health at risk. The turning point arrived in 2015, largely thanks to the relentless investigative work of Wall Street Journal reporter John Carreyrou. He started receiving anonymous tips from former Theranos employees, including Tyler Shultz, the grandson of board member George Shultz, and Erica Chung. These whistleblowers bravely came forward, revealing the systemic failures, the fudged data, and the widespread deception within the company. Carreyrou pieced together a devastating narrative, detailing how Theranos routinely failed quality control tests, how their Edison machines were profoundly flawed, and how the company was, in essence, perpetrating a massive fraud. Theranos, under Holmes's direction, fought back ferociously. They deployed high-powered lawyers, issued threats of litigation, and even hired private investigators to track Carreyrou and his sources. They tried to discredit the Wall Street Journal, claiming the reporting was biased and inaccurate. But Carreyrou persevered, and his bombshell articles, beginning in October 2015, sent shockwaves through the tech world, the medical community, and the financial markets. The emperor, it turned out, had no clothes. The fallout was swift and catastrophic. Public trust evaporated instantly. Regulatory bodies, including the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services and the FDA, launched their own investigations. CMS found Theranos lab practices posed immediate jeopardy to patient health and safety and revoked their operating license. Walgreens, facing immense pressure and reputational damage, terminated its partnership with Theranos, closing all the wellness centers and initiating lawsuits. Test results that had already been delivered to thousands of patients were voided, leaving individuals in limbo and sparking fears of misdiagnosis based on erroneous data. Patients who had relied on Theranos for critical health information faced serious consequences, from unnecessary anxiety to delayed treatment for actual conditions. Elizabeth Holmes, ever the performer, initially continued to deny the allegations, appearing on television interviews to defend her company and technology, often reiterating that she stood by every test result. But the weight of evidence was insurmountable. The Department of Justice, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and the FBI launched their own criminal investigations. In March 2018, the SEC charged Holmes and her former business partner and ex-boyfriend, Ramesh Sunny Balwani, with massive fraud, alleging they raised over $700 million from investors through an elaborate, years-long deception. Theranos officially ceased operations later that year. The legal battles culminated in high-profile trials. Sunny Balwani was convicted on all 12 counts of fraud and conspiracy in July 2022. Elizabeth Holmes faced her own trial, which captivated the nation. In January 2022, she was convicted on 4 counts of defrauding investors, though acquitted on charges related to defrauding patients. Both were sentenced to significant prison time, marking a definitive end to the Theranos saga. The dream, the promise, the billions of dollars, all shattered by the cold, hard reality of fraud. The story of Theranos serves as a profound cautionary tale, with far-reaching implications. For patients, it underscored the critical importance of trust and transparency in healthcare. The thought that medical diagnoses could be based on fraudulent technology caused immense distress and eroded faith in innovative healthcare solutions. For investors, it highlighted the dangers of prioritizing hype and charismatic founders over rigorous due diligence, scientific validation, and independent oversight. Many influential figures, blinded by the allure of a groundbreaking idea and the magnetic personality of Holmes, invested heavily without ever questioning the underlying science. It exposed the darker side of Silicon Valley's fake-it-till-you-make-it culture, demonstrating how unchecked ambition, coupled with immense pressure to deliver, can spiral into outright deception. Ultimately, Theranos reminds us of the invaluable role of a free and investigative press, exemplified by John Carreero's tenacious reporting, and the crucial work of whistleblowers who put their careers and reputations on the line to expose the truth. The legacy of Theranos is not one of medical revolution, but of one of the largest and most spectacular frauds in Silicon Valley history, a stark reminder that even the most compelling narratives, and the most captivating figures, must ultimately be grounded in reality and integrity. If you found this deep dive into the rise and fall of Theranos illuminating, please consider hitting that like button. And for more stories about the hidden truths behind big promises, make sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next documentary. What other stories of corporate fraud or innovation gone wrong would you like us to explore? Let us know in the comments below.